welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and I love to talk about books. Although, I feel like I've started a few videos like this, but I've got to be honest, my booktube inspiration well runneth dry, and it wasn't very deep in the first place. I'm so in awe of other booktubers who are just so creative in their approach, and those who can talk about books at great depth. I have a head like a sieve. I can't remember the finer points of a book that I read like a few weeks ago, let alone pull from the pool of books that I've read over the years to compare and contrast or make links between them like I see some other great booktubers do. I've been struggling for ideas, but today I thought I would talk about a bookish dilemma. And by dilemma I actually mean a gorgeous, delicious overabundance. That could apply to all aspects of my reading life, read books, unread books, books I don't currently own but want to, books that I really should read. I'm overabundancing all over the shop, but this week I realised that my Kindle collection really is bursting at the seams, and I briefly considered quitting my job and selling my kids in order to have a hope in hell of ever reading all of the books that I have on my Kindle. Because I think the problem is, this year I've tried to limit my physical book buying, but my brain heard that as, okay, just buy more ebooks. And I have. And I don't typically complain about having too many books, like give me all the books. But as I've mentioned before, I've lost my life to the Depp Heard trial, but I also really struggle to sit and watch things, so I often have to be doing something else at the same time. Sadly not reading, because I can't read with noise. Frustrating. So whilst I was watching the trial, I decided to update my Goodreads Kindle TBR shelf. And I got a shock to find that I have 210 unread books on my Kindle. Don't look at me like that. Okay, do, because that doesn't even include my backlog of 25 NetGalleys that I've got as well. But I'm ignoring that. I'm putting myself on a NetGalley ban, and I'm giving myself to the end of the year to get to TBR 0 with that, so we will just park that one. But the Kindle TBR. So whilst I say like I love abundance, the thing that does stress me out about too many books is that I miss the ones that I really want to get to, because, well, I can't get to all of them at once. And that goes for physical books, my library TBR, just generally any book on my radar. But the Kindle is sneaky because, unlike my bookshelves, it's not visible. So I forget what I have on there, and it was quite eye-opening to go through it this week. So I thought I'd pick a few books from my Kindle TBR that I would like to get to this year, if I get time, amongst all those NetGalleys and the BookTube Prize and TBR Tackle. Okay, that doesn't leave a heck of a lot of time. So I'll rephrase that. The ones which are top of my Kindle TBR priority books. So I've got some memoir, I've got some self-help, non-fiction and fiction. It's a veritable smorgasbord of bookish loveliness. So I'll start with memoirs. The first one is Chanel Miller's Know My Name. So many people have said that not only is this a powerful account of a very high profile rape case by the survivor herself, so not only is the subject matter really powerful, but it's also exceptionally well written, and I've been meaning to get to it like ever since I heard that she was writing it. So that needs read pronto. Then I have In the Dream House by Carmen Machado. I'm intrigued by this one. So this is about Machado's experience of abuse within a same-sex relationship, which is a topic I know I've not read about before. I don't think it's spoken about as much as it should be. But what's so intriguing about this book is that it switches through different genres and tropes in order for the author to tell her story. I'm not sure how that will play out, but I'm really excited to find out. The next one is Empty by Susan Burton, which is a memoir about living with disordered eating. And this is the first of 3 memoirs I want to read because I think they will speak to my own life experiences, which is why the next 2 are Falling Apart in One Piece, the subtitle of which is One Optimist's Journey Through the Hell of Divorce, and that's by Stacy Morrison, and the other one is A Beautiful Terrible Thing, which is a memoir of marriage and betrayal by Jen Waite. Although I'm through the worst of the horrific end of my marriage, it's left me with deep wounds that are going to take a lot to heal. At the time, I bought a lot of divorce and infidelity memoirs back in 2020 when all the shit hit the fan. But due to other reading plans and things, I haven't actually got to them yet. It might be too late, and they might have been more helpful to read when everything was raw, but I'm still hoping I can get something from these memoirs. And you never know, like perhaps letting the dust settle before I read them means that I can get through them without re-traumatizing myself. So I suppose that's a good thing too. And so I guess that kind of leads nicely on to a self-help book that I need to read. And this is How to Keep House Whilst Drowning, a gentle approach to cleaning and organising by Casey Davis. I think the title is self-explanatory on this one. This isn't the first, and I doubt it will be the last book that I have picked up in an attempt to help myself with the overwhelm that I feel when dealing with an area of adulting that, most people around me seem to do without even giving it a second thought. But I'm messy by nature, and depression makes that a million times harder to keep on top of. Throw in a full-time job, 3 messy, quite unhelpful children, and a dog, and it's probably the main struggle of my whole life. I'll take all the help I can get. And this isn't just a book by a woman who really likes to clean and has all this free time to spend, polishing her already immaculate show home. Davis is a therapist and has a mental health platform called Struggle Care. So, have I found my dream cleaning guru? Who knows? But it definitely needs to be read soon. And then sticking with non-fiction, I've got some kind of more topic-focused books that I'm dying to get to as well. The first of which is Catch and Kill. I think the subtitle is Lies, Spies, and a Conspiracy to Protect Predators by Ronan Farrow. So this one is about exposing the sexual abuses of power in Hollywood. I think it's about the Harvey Weinstein case, but I also think it sounds like it goes deeper and wider than that. The next one is Hidden Valley Road, Inside the Mind of an American Family by Robert Kolker. This is about a family where I think it's like 6 of the 12 children had schizophrenia, and who in the 1970s was studied by the US's National Institute of Mental Health, and that kind of formed a basis of what was understood of the disease at that time. This book goes into the family itself as well as the study of the illness, and I don't think it's a particularly happy story, but it just sounds so interesting, and I've been meaning to read it for ages. And then the third one is The Guilty Feminist, From Our Noble Goals to Our Worst Hypocrisies by Deborah Frances White. So this is by the woman who developed and presents the podcast of the same name, The Guilty Feminist, and which has been, the podcast has been fundamental in expanding my ideas of feminism and, crucially, things like intersectionality and inclusivity. Deborah is also a comedian, so it's a really funny podcast. She has great guests on it. She used to co-host with the amazing Sophie Hagen as well, and now she has like a cast of co-hosts who are all female comedians as well. But it's also really socially minded. I'm hoping I'm going to get exactly all of that from this book as well. And then, of course, I have some fiction too. The first is Corrag by Susan Fletcher, which is a historical fiction set in the times of the clans in Scotland. It's about a woman sentenced to death for being a witch, basically. I loved the book Eve Green by this author, so I'm expecting good things from this one. Then I really want to read Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. This is about a mother with mental health issues, so see above about being drawn to books that speak to my personal experience. Then I have Ruth Ozeki's book, A Tale for the Time Being. A writer finds the diary of a 16-year-old Japanese girl who is contemplating suicide. This diary washes up on the beach of the writer's remote island in a Hello Kitty lunchbox. And have you ever heard such an amazing premise? I've been wanting to read this since I heard it being talked on a Book Riot podcast years ago. I can't believe I haven't got to it yet. Then I have My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh, which is about a woman who she's feeling empty and alienated and decides to sleep for a year with the help of pharmaceuticals. I mean, hibernation sounds like a total dream to me, but something tells me that this woman's experience isn't going to be quite as restful and relaxing as she had hoped. Next is Burnt Sugar by Avni Doshi, and this is a mother-daughter relationship story between a woman who lived quite a chaotic, free-spirited, but also quite selfish life, and her now grown-up daughter who is having to care for this mother who never really cared for her. I'm always fascinated by mother-daughter dynamics, and yeah, I've heard good things about this one. And then lastly, I have Madam by Phoebe Wynne, which is totally giving me Plain Bad Heroines vibes, and I've talked about how much I loved that book. This is about a woman who takes a job at an elite Scottish boarding school and who discovers dark deeds surrounding her predecessor, and I just think that sounds gothic and delicious. So that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour through some of the 210 unread books I have on my Kindle, and I really do hope I can fit in at least a few of them this year to get my teeth into. What really frustrates me about Kindle is there's not a really good way to organise it. I have collections I've got the Kindle app on my phone and I use the collections on there, and that kind of helps things be nice and neat and tidy, but they don't seem to mirror across to my actual Kindle, which is super frustrating because I don't tend to like to read on the phone app. I do prefer to use this. I just wish it was a bit more reader friendly. I feel, I mean, come on guys, it's Amazon. Of course, they're only focused on churning out products, churning out the books, getting your money. But I do wish it was a little bit more of a useful reading experience to manage the books that I've got. I went full out geek and made a spreadsheet. Yes, I did. You know I did. I made a spreadsheet to try and keep track of my NetGalleys and my Kindle purchases, to try and make sure that I'm not letting any really amazing books slip through the net. What's the state of your Kindle? I would love to know. Do you use a Kindle? I remember when they first came out, I was so against Kindles. I was like, I am never ever going to read an ebook. That's just horrible. I love books too much. Why would you want to read on a screen? And then someone bought me a Kindle and my opinion did change. I mean, real books are still my favourite, but Kindle books are often on offer, and that's a lot of mine have been, I've bought them when they're on offer. And so often they are a cheaper way to get newer books, but then I forget I own them, so it's maybe not the best use of my money. Maybe if I just bought the brand new book physical copy and had it sitting there in my face, I'd be more inclined to read it, just because I would remember that it existed. So if you don't use a Kindle, I can understand that. It's not my favourite format. But yeah, tell me, do you have any tips or tricks on how to organise your Kindle? Help me out. And also, if you've read any of those books that I've mentioned, or if you want to do a buddy read of any of those books that I've mentioned, let me know your thoughts. And until next time, bye.